Welcome back, everybody, to We Know the Traitors over here on RHAP. I'm your host, the Duke of Deception. With me, as always, Brian Scally. And we know today the first person banished from the manor with a lovely birthday present of 16 votes. Curtis, how was your birthday?
Oh man, my birthday was something else. Definitely one to remember. There is no doubt about that. I don't think I will ever forget my birthday, and probably the rest of the cast, and maybe all of Canada. So what can you do?
Curtis, glad to be talking to you. Sad it is this early. You were definitely on the show, a pretty active player. Do you feel like that was an accurate representation of how hard you were playing in the game?
I think so. I mean, I came into this game, with a competitive mindset. I am a competitor. I play to win. And so I think they did a good job of depicting how hard I was coming into play. I honestly, I feel like challenges too is something where I really would have shone, and I wish I would have had more time to do that. Like, I'm sure we'll get into it. That first challenge was a bit of a nightmare, but like second one, man, did you see me with all the gold in my hand at the end of that thing? So like, I was ready to play.
You really did give the energy that you were, Curtis. How prepared were you for the Traitors? Have you been a big fan? Did you do a crash course? What was your levels here?
I would say a mixture of both. So I've seen all the US seasons. I've seen all the Canadian seasons, and obviously like understood the format of the game, some of the meta, some of the strategies. But I think the thing that I was maybe a little bit underprepared on was who was I going to be playing against? I knew some of the Canadian personalities, but I didn't know their gameplay intimately. So I think I was a little bit underprepared in that respect. But I also wanted to come in. I know I'm a big personality, so I wanted to come in, talk to the gamers, and see if I could get into that crowd. So,
okay. So who of the gamers were you like initially drawn to?
Ty 100%. So, and it's not fully shown. Obviously, like we've got to edit everything down, right? But Ty and I had a lot of one-to-one conversations, and him and I just had a good vibe right from the beginning. I had a lot of trust for him, and I feel like that was reciprocated. The conversation that him and I had outside of the Traitor selection roundtable in the hallway where we were both like Omer, that really kind of solidified it for us. So he was the person I was initially drawn to the most.
Okay. And so you were drawn to him. So was it from there? Like, we saw a lot of y'all talking. We see you bring up Omer. How did Omer fit into the whole conversation there with the two of you?
Yeah, so it was actually really simple. Like at that first round table, we're all looking for physiological reactions from people. And look, I know that's not what you should be basing your vote on, right? But it is the first thing that we have to go off of. I saw Omer with the red face. That was like the key thing that I noticed. There was also something about Dom, which we can talk about because it's alluded to in the episode. And then Ty and I happened to be walking down the hallway at the same time. And I was like, hey, did you notice anything? And he's like, yeah. And we actually did this little bit of cat and mouse where it was kind of like, okay, male or female? Male. Okay. Facial hair? No facial hair. Okay. Facial hair. And we kind of did this little game until he was like, does his name start with an O? And I was like, yes. And so we both landed on Omer. And that's how he fit into the puzzle. Unfortunately, I didn't know that Ty and Omer actually have connected outside of this game. And so they had a pre-existing relationship. And, you can see the conversation that him and Ty had about me. And so, yeah.
Okay. At that first round table, obviously, we all know the twist. Kareen goes around, is touching most people's shoulders. Curtis, coming in, were you hoping to be a traitor or not? And how was your reaction based off of the twist?
Listen, my whole pitch to get on the show was to be a traitor. So yes, absolutely. I came in with big intentions to play a traitor. My strategy was all built around that. That moment is so intense, right? Corinne's walking around. We're hearing her heels like clank on the floor, right? You're hoping you get tapped. And then when it happens, it's like adrenaline spike through the roof, right? My heart's literally beating out of my chest. I can feel my face going red. I can feel sweat. I can feel all of those things in that moment. And it's like, okay, now I have 3 minutes to regulate before everyone's going to start clocking me, right? So that's what I'm thinking now. Okay, how do I get my breathing normal? How do I make sure I'm cool? Like everything's good. And I feel like I actually got to that point right as we were taking the blindfolds off. So, okay, we're calm, we're collected, we're cool. I'm now scanning the room to see who else has been selected as a traitor, if I can pick anything else up. And then we get that twist from Corinne. And it's like, the cool thing about it is, first I realize that moment that I just had where everybody is having this crazy adrenaline spike reaction, everyone just experienced the same thing, right? And then we take the blindfolds off. When that twist is now revealed, I'm scanning immediately to see who's having that reaction live in the moment with the blindfolds off. That's a really dangerous position for our new traders to be in. And so that's the first thing I was doing, was like scanning the room to try to see who's now reacting to this twist.
And as a faithful, how did you feel about the twist that in the event that you get out a traitor, $10,000 gets added to the prize? But did that change anything for you? What was the energy in the castle with that news?
I think it obviously encourages people to focus on finding traders, right? Versus like bandwagoning. Unfortunately, I don't actually think that played out in the result. I mean, I think if you watch the first roundtable, it is a giant bandwagon. And I'm sure we'll get into more detail on that. But I feel like in theory, it's awesome because like, yeah, let's do what we're here to do. Like, let's find the traders and get them out of the game. In practice, I don't know that it was enough to get people to make a change in their behavior.
Yeah. Curtis, at breakfast, you say something very interesting, and I'm curious, is this a wild guess, or did you have any clue that made you think so? You're saying you think one murder, one recruitment. Obviously a good thought here, but was this just context clues, a guess? How is that?
I mean, a bit of both, right? I think you also hear me say that I couldn't sleep a wink that night. I think I slept like an hour and a half or something. And so, you know, you're laying in bed, you're tossing and turning, all these thoughts are going through your head. And I was playing out all these scenarios. And I remembered that Corinne said, 2 of you will be here, 1 will return. And I'm like, you know, I think this is recruitment and murder in the same night. And I'm glad that that was on camera because like it shows like strategically I was thinking about that. I don't think anyone else had really come to that conclusion. That was kind of the first I'd been hearing of it. So
Curtis, I'm very curious about the relationship you had with Rhea because it does seem like Rhea does play a big part in your story, this second episode especially. So can you run us through how you felt about her throughout your time on the show?
Yeah. So when I first met Rhea, she was a little bit hard to get a read on. She's very emotional. She's got a big personality. And I was like, is she putting that on? I don't really know what she's doing. She wears her heart on her sleeve a lot. And I knew that Ty had started building a relationship with her. So when Ty left the game, like I knew that my game was in jeopardy. And I was like, I have to go talk to Rhea. She's going to be the bridge that I can build to keep me in this game. And so that first morning after breakfast, I actually spent quite a bit of time talking to Rhea directly. And I said to her, like, look, you're my super green, meaning like you're a person that I think is truly a faithful. And we had a really great conversation. And I walked away from that going, okay, cool. Like Rhea and I are good. And that's why when we get to the challenge, I'm really excited that we're paired together. Little did I know she was tossing my name out already on the way to the mission. I had no idea. So I thought that we were really good. And I thought that our mission together, despite a small hiccup, had solidified that. But, little did I know she already had no trust for me. So I think like I put my trust in the wrong person at that point in the game.
Yeah. Speaking of throwing names out on the way to the mission, you're in a car, a little bit of a boys group. Kevin starts floating a name of Coco. How serious was that? Or was that just kind of planting seeds, do you think?
I think he was just trying to deflect off of himself.
Okay.
I think you see that in the episode too, right? He's already kind of plotting for, 3 or 4 roundtables down the road, how he can maybe get Coco out. So I think that's what he was doing with seed planting. I will say Coco's name was going around. People were talking about Coco because she put herself on the wharf in the first mission, right? And like, it didn't seem like she put up too much of a fight. So people were tossing her name around, but I think that was Kevin just planting seeds.
Cool.
Okay.
And I, Curtis, you said also you didn't know Rhea was throwing your name around. Were you aware that other people were? How conscious were you that your name was going around a whole bunch in that castle?
Man, this is what frustrates me so much because I felt like anyone whose name was coming up, for the most part, I would go talk to them and I'd be like, give me information, like let me suss this out on my own. I had 2 people tell me that they had heard my name. The first was Sarah Nicole. And she had said that morning, like, hey, I heard your name for the first time today. And I was like, okay, was it serious? Like, do I need to go talk to someone? She's like, no, it was just in passing. And I believed her. And then later that evening, Natalie said something similar to me. She said like, yeah, I heard your name for the first time today. And I was like, what, Curtis? Like, there's no way. And I was like, okay, cool. And Natalie didn't vote for me. So I think maybe she was just a little bit out of the loop. But that was it. Nobody had any like serious, like, hey, you need to go have some conversations. Nobody gave me the heads up. And in my exit speech, like that's something I actually talked about. Like, hey, you should have come and talked to me. Like I could have absolutely explained some of the things that were brought up at this roundtable, like the Omer Ty thing. So
Sure.
yeah.
So getting closer and closer to that for that roundtable, who was the name you thought was going, and what were your thoughts heading into that one?
So at that point, for the most part, people have been keeping their cards pretty close to their chest. I think that there was this core group that was tossing my name around, and obviously I wasn't privy to that. Like I think there was about 5 people in that group who managed to convince everyone else. But the name that I had been hearing the most was Dom. And that's why I voted for Dom in that table. And do you guys want to hear why some of those suspicions?
Yeah, my next question.
Cool. All right. So again, you don't want to gauge that first roundtable reaction too much, right? But something I observed about Dom, which really surprised me, was he was actually the first person that I talked to when I got in the manor, because he was one of the first people I recognized. He's a big presence, right? When I went up to him, he was standing by himself, having a beer, and he looked kind of lonely, if I'm being honest. And I'm like, this is this guy who's been on like Perfect Match and The Mole, and like everyone knows who Dom is. And he's this really kind of introverted guy. I started talking to him and I'm like, oh, he's kind of nerdy. Like he's into, you know, gaming, and he's into like anime and, you know, Pokemon and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, this is really interesting. But he came across very shy and reserved, which surprised me based on what I've seen from him on television. At the round table, that first traitor selection, once Corinne left, he was the first person to say something, and he made a joke and like everyone was laughing and whatever. And I was like, that's really strange, because when I talked to you last night, you didn't want any attention on you. And now suddenly you're asking for attention from the group first. So that really stood out to me as something that a nervous person would do to like break the tension.
Okay. And so was this something you and Ty had also discussed, or was that just this is an easy way to strengthen my argument?
So Ty and I definitely discussed it. After that first mission, there is a moment where I'm like giving Ty a hug and I'm like, man, honest mistake. Like it's all good, whatever. And he whispers in my ear and he says, it's Dom. And I'm like, I look back at this and he's like, it's Dom, trust me. What I later found out is that Dom was throwing my name out because he thought, I guess, I sabotaged or something like that. And I want to talk about that too. But he was throwing my name out. And I guess on the boat, when we were trying to decide who was going to go on the wharf, who we were going to sacrifice, Dom was sitting behind me and Ty was sitting in front of me. And I guess Dom was like signaling to Ty to put me up. And Ty told me that. And then he was like, yeah, it's Dom. So there was already suspicion from our group on him anyways.
Okay.
So in the round table, how early into it, like, or I guess just run us through their feelings, but how early into it did you realize, oh, this might be my demise here? I might be leaving after this.
10.6 seconds. As soon as Omer started talking, basically. So let me give you guys some context. Like, you know, some of the moments that you have to talk aren't that long, right? When you're playing the game, right? It is very rushed, and you have to have a lot of conversations with a lot of people. And so after that mission, I was trying to talk to as many people as possible, and I got called in for a confessional, and like literally left the confessional with 2 minutes to get changed to go to the round table. So I wasn't able to have some of the conversations I wanted to have. And going into that, I was like, maybe people might say me, I had like a loose defense, but I wasn't thinking for sure I was a target. Omer starts talking. And as soon as he says, I was talking to Ty about this, I'm like, oh no, is there something I'm not aware of? And then he throws my name out. So that whole conversation that he had with Omer, I wasn't privy to. Yep. And, the frustrating thing about it is like, Ty was my boy. Him and I are super close. We're good. Like we're super, super close now. In fact, we're like really good friends now, which is awesome. But, ultimately the person that I put the most trust in probably was the one that sort of started the conversation around me when he had that conversation with Omer. So, as soon as Omer said it was me, I knew with Ty being gone, there was going to be no way that I could prove with 100% certainty that I was telling the truth. And the depiction I give of that conversation was the truth. What Ty told Omer was that he came into a conversation of me talking to somebody else, which is not what happened. So
when those votes start piling in one after the other, you called out the people that supported you, but was there one vote that maybe surprised you or hurt more than the others?
Ria's vote definitely hurt because I thought we had built a really strong relationship, and I wasn't expecting the vote to go that way. And also there's a brief glimpse of it shown in the episode, but Ria and Jericho and I have a conversation before the roundtable where they're both like reassuring me it's Dom. And like, I'm pouring my heart out to both of them being like, I trust you guys. Like this, I feel really, really good about this. And they're like, we feel really good about it too. And even Ria's like, yeah, and Dom did this and this, like she's throwing all these accusations out too. And because Ty was gone, I already had felt like, oh man, like I'm in a bad spot. So when Ria and I had built that relationship, I felt like better about that. So to get that vote from her was really tough. Chala was the other one. I also built a really strong relationship with Chala, which isn't really highlighted that much in the episode, but Chala and I talked quite a bit and had a ton of trust.
Well, Curtis,
guys, yeah.
Truly gone too soon, man. Listen, it's a shame. It's never easy to be the first one banished, especially when everyone is just looking for any little reason to, like you said, bandwagon on. But at the very least, you will always have that moment where you read that there was going to be one recruit, one murder. That theory being out there, I think, is something to hang your hat on. So you always have that. And hey, may this be the worst birthday possible, and every other birthday be a blessing.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys. Yeah, you know, the birthday thing. Do we want to talk about that at all? Do we have time?
Please go ahead. It's your birthday.
Cool. So the birthday thing. It was my birthday coming up in the house, and I didn't make a point of talking about it with very many people, but I did tell a select few. Ria was one of them because I trusted her. And she even talks about this in the episode. She was calling me birthday boy. She made a comment like, we're going to celebrate on your birthday. And I made a comment back to her and said, yeah, if I make it that far, right? And she's like, no, 100% you're going to make it. And so in that moment where you have to make that choice, it's like a split-second decision of like, you know, you have to put yourself in the other person's shoes. And like, I just thought, you know what? She made such a big deal about that. Like, she's a caring person. She's a giving person. Maybe this is going to be the reason that she writes my name instead. And there were some other reasons, by the way, that I wrote myself down. Like, I crushed it in the challenge. Again, I had a full, some people walked away from that thing with 1 or 2 bags of gold, man. I had 9 bags. All right. I had a ton. And, the reality is in that competition, it was very hard to hear anybody, you know, like I heard Ria at moments, but it was, you know, I couldn't hear her the whole time for sure. So anyways, I thought I crushed it there. I also knew that there was a lot of heat on our boat from the day before. There was a rumor going around that the boat, our strength boat, was going to get picked off one by one because they were easy choices. And so I was like, I have to do everything in my power to protect myself. And that was another reason.
All right. Yeah, honestly, I'm shocked as many people matched as did to get shields there. Thought many people would play that differently. So I you know, it's a definitely hard decision in there. Either way, Curtis, really appreciated you on the show. Really appreciate you giving us your time today. And hope we see you in the future.
I don't think this is going to be the last time you guys see me. So really appreciate it. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Curtis. Take care.
All right, gentlemen. Bye.
This is RHAP. We know reality TV.